What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here to discuss what happened on that pitch at Craven Cottage yesterday. Fulham 2, Tottenham 0. Got some interesting content coming for you guys over the next couple of days. Me and Sim just been rubbing shoulders with the stars this morning. Harry Redknapp.
Star. Maybe our next manager.
Well, he did put his, no spoiler alert, but yeah, interviews coming with Harry Redknapp.
Sure, a lot of people out there will like that.
Yeah, definitely. Very, very soon. We have seen that multiple times in our comment section. Get Harry until the end of the season. But yeah, let's just get straight into it, I guess. Match review, Fulham 2, Tottenham 0. As we always, let's start off talking about Sim being at the ground yesterday. Atmosphere. Obviously, we all saw what happened after the game. Ange biting back at a fan. Matisse Tell coming into the crowd. With someone being there quite close to the incident. Talk to us about the Matisse Tell, first of all.
Well, I'll talk about the general atmosphere. To be fair, I thought the crowd in the away end was not bad. I think the atmosphere was pretty good in general. Spurs fans were pretty loud, pretty supportive for the majority of the game. There wasn't much disgruntlement, but I would say it definitely did start to turn in the last 10 minutes when we obviously started losing. I think for the second half, first half, a lot of the fans were just a bit kind of numb to what we were seeing. It wasn't like we were so angry because it wasn't like Fulham were peppering us much. It was just a very dead game in that first half. No one was really doing anything. I mean, Fulham had that one chance, but I don't think there was very loud boos at halftime or anything, despite the fact that Tottenham were really struggling to really create anything.
Any low boos? Any soft boos?
Yeah, I guess he had a few. He had one or two, but it wasn't very loud. Second half, it was weird. We were starting to play a bit better, and all of a sudden the crowd were getting a bit more hopeful. And then as soon as we conceded that first goal, it did turn quite hostile. And obviously we ended up conceding the second goal to Ryan Sessegnon. And I think then you had a lot of fans. Some fans started leaving. You had a lot of fans just shouting, all sorts at the players. And there was even an altercation that I tried to get on camera, but I just didn't get it time with some of the fans with Calvin Bassey as well. They were saying something to him, and he was laughing it off and having a bit of a joke. But after the game, there were very loud boos, very, very loud boos. I was sat next to Johnny H. He tried to start a chant. What's the Levy chant? We want Levy out there. So he's tried to start a chant. We want Ange out, but didn't really get going. But he tried to do it. Good old Johnny. And it definitely turned quite hostile. You saw the players coming over; they weren't obviously happy with their own performance, I'm guessing, and there was a lot of kind of expletives being shouted. And then Tell comes over. It was very, very odd. He comes over right into the crowd. I thought he was going to give his shirt or something, because Solanke gave his shirt to one of the fans in the front row. So I thought Tell was coming to do the same, or maybe he saw someone with a sign. And he comes in, he jumps into the crowd. So I thought he was maybe saying hello to a family member, but there was a few young guys right in the front row. I think a bunch of 4 or 5, maybe teenagers or early 20s, young guys. And they were really, really angry, and they were shouting all sorts. And Tell comes in. He comes into the stand. I didn't quite hear what he was saying, but he was clearly having a conversation with them. He was definitely chatting away, and they were all shouting in his face, doing all these things. And our mate Ryan, he was right there, right in the midst of it. I was trying to capture some of it. There was a guy in a sign holding up a sign right in front of me, so I was blocking it. But Ryan saying that Tell came in to the crowd, and he was basically saying, "Look, we're trying. Everyone needs to calm down. We need to be together. We are trying out there with and all that kind of stuff." And obviously, in the clip that you, not you personally, that was shared on our social media with Ange, and you see Tell is there as well, talking to the fans, saying, "Please respect." He's trying to usher Ange away. So it's quite interesting that Tell was at the forefront of all of that. It's quite interesting that he was the one, a 19-year-old Loney, that was the one who came into the crowd and had the conversation rather than any of the senior players or any of the other players who've been there for a while. Players only been here since the end of January was the one, which I don't know what you read into that when it comes to how he feels part of the team and how he feels being in the club at the moment, because a lot of people are thinking, does he massively regret coming here and all this kind of stuff, but it would have been very easy for him to just walk away and not start a dialogue. So I think it's quite interesting how much you read into that him personally, but also big up to him for not shying away from, you know, the result and the fans, which I think a lot of our players do. And I think football needs more of that. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see more of that because these players are so protected and they all have security teams, and, you know, they don't want to risk anything really happening. And you know, if a player goes into the crowd like that, has a dialogue with fans and stuff, you never know what can happen. Things can boil over. A fan can do something stupid. So I honestly don't think it's going to happen more often. Although I say to Tell, fair play to you for going up and trying to, you know, have a discussion with some of these fans who are very angry and upset with what's going on at the club. But yeah, it was kind of a bit toxic at the end with a lot of things being shouted and a lot of people upset with yet another loss this season for sure. Yeah. But I think it wasn't like that the whole game, to be fair.
And that's, credit to Tell for fronting up, showing some bottle and going over to the away fans and, you know, addressing the disgruntlement. And I saw in the video, obviously I wasn't there, so it's hard for me to talk about it completely. But from what I saw in the video, he walks over to disgruntled fans, and by the end of it, they actually showed him respect and started chanting, you know, at him and stuff.
They did, but they weren't. I wouldn't say they were much happier. But like they showed like they all appreciated Tell for doing that. But when they were walking away, they still seemed very irate at certain things. They were still, you know, wanting to shout.
The result doesn't go away.
Yeah.
Doesn't go away.
Yeah, for sure. But fair play to Tell. But what do you think about what it says about him right now? How he's where his head's at? Like as a lone player who, you know, a lot of discussion in January when we signed him is about, are we going to convince him to stay rather than us wanting him to stay? Now the discussion is, do we actually want him to stay anyway? But in terms of how he's feeling when it's him doing something like that, where does that tell you about? I mean, pardon the pun. Where does that tell you about where his head's sat in terms of him being here?
Yeah, Matisse tells me that that he feels part of it, right? He feels part of the team, part of the family, and he wants to make things right on the pitch. That's what it tells me. And look, all I can say is credit to him. Obviously, his performances haven't been good enough on the pitch as of yet. Yesterday was maybe a small step in the right direction, because I do think it was a little bit better yesterday than it has been probably in the last 3 or 4 games. So, yeah, I think from an attacking perspective, he was probably our most dangerous outlet in terms of a winger. So
I also think it's quite interesting because as a lone player, he knows that he could be, you know, gone at the end of the season, and he knows that he doesn't really have to show this kind of affinity to the club. He can easily
shows that he wants to be here.
First of all, that, but also but also, like, if he came into this club, I know we've been losing games and the situation we are in, but if he came in and everything was fractured and everyone's sniping each other and the whole thing's a complete mess in terms of within the dressing room and in the club, like, it would be like, would he have gone over and done that? Like, would he have felt the need to try and defend what he's seeing? Like, it would have been very easy for him not to if he didn't feel the need to. So I felt that was quite interesting.
Yeah, no, it is interesting, and we'll see how it all plays out over the next couple of weeks towards the end of the season as well, if we do keep him or not. But let's get into the game. Obviously, Ange's team selection is going to come under scrutiny in this game, and I think, you know, everyone's well within their rights to scrutinise the hell out of it, because I think it was, you know, we all expected changes before the game, and in our predicted lineup, we got one wrong. Basically, we went for Maddison over Bissouma, I think it was, and everything else we got was spot on. So we were all fully expecting, well, we were here in the studio expecting Ange to ring the changes for the game.
And I think that's the right thing to do.
To a certain extent, I think, yes, he should have made changes, but I don't see a reason why to leave an attacking player out of the midfield 3. I mean, with Maddison not on international duty, he's not going to play for the next 2.5 weeks. Like, what reason is there to leave someone like Maddison out that starting lineup?
You have to ask Ange, but obviously we played on Thursday. He played, 80 minutes or whatever it was on Thursday, and maybe he feel like he wasn't fit enough to play the 90, so he put him on the bench. But I would have thought in that scenario, maybe you play Bergvall 45 and Maddison 45, you try and keep someone on there. But as well, obviously these players that came in, we are going to, regarding... assuming we do stay in Europe anyway, we're obviously going to need them from now to the end of the season to kind of come in and play these kind of games, because as much as we have a first 11, they're not going to be able to play every game.
Yeah, this isn't the game, in my opinion, that needed to happen. We've got once the internationals breaks over, we've got 2 games a week for the next month, in the month of April, right? We've got the 2 European games. We've got Chelsea on a Thursday night. Then is going to then we're going to need heavy rotation when we're playing Chelsea on the Thursday, Southampton on the weekend, Frankfurt, and then so on. There was no reason at all to leave Maddison out. Like, we need a creative force in the middle of the park. We've seen when we've played three kind of defensive-minded players in the middle of the park this season, every single time it's gone horribly wrong. And you just knew by looking at that lineup, we are not going to be able to create anything with that midfield. And so it came to pass.
Do you not think he wanted Bergvall Maddison in the team? Of course he would have wanted it. He clearly felt like they couldn't start.
Why couldn't they start, though? I just don't get it.
I'm not in the medical department. I'm not seeing their conditioning. I don't know any of these things. But clearly, obviously, he would have wanted them to start. I'm sure. We're not. I don't think we can accuse Ange of going. Apart from maybe that Liverpool game, at most games, I don't think we can accuse Ange of being too pragmatic. You know what I mean? I think he's wanted a creator. He would have wanted a creator in the middle. I'm sure if Decky was fit, probably one of them would have started.
He just got it horribly wrong. That's what happened. He got it wrong.
So you think if Maddison was fully fit and was fine to start, but he decided not to start him?
Yeah, I mean that's what it tells me. Why say that? There's no kind of evidence. There's no one ever saying that he's got a niggle or anything.
Does have to have a niggle. He played on Thursday, so he didn't.
So what?
And
players
Maddison
can't play from Thursday
Maddison
to Sunday
specifically.
these days.
Maddison specifically, we know he's the kind of player that picks up injuries, and we have to be careful with him.
And we also know that Ange has left him out of starting 11s a lot this season.
Yeah, but he started on Thursday. I'm pretty sure he would have, if he was fully fit, he would have started him. Not fully fit, but if he was ready to play 90, he would have started him.
You don't have to play 90 to start.
Okay, so he played half an hour instead.
Yeah,
like 0-0.
We needed player. You know though, like with the starting lineup that we were going to play, you knew the way we were going to play, and it was nowhere near good enough in that first half in terms of creating chances. We needed someone in the middle of the park to keep the ball moving, to push us forward.
I agree.
And Maddison was on the bench.
Well, Bergvall could have started.
Bergvall could have started as well, so one of them. But
I would have started one of them. I would have thought he would have started one of them.
It feels like we're prioritising the Europa League, which is fair enough. I completely understand that, and I completely am for prioritising the Europa League. But this Europa League game is 3.5 weeks away, if not more. Like, there's no need to have that in your mind right now. With Mickey van de Ven, I can kind of understand it with the problems that he's been going through. But to not have anyone attacking minded in that midfield was completely wrong. I don't know how anyone can say otherwise.
It was wrong in terms of trying to win the game, but you're trying to give players minutes. You're trying to rest players who have played on Thursday as well. That was the thinking going into it. I don't think he going into this game he was thinking, yeah, we don't need Maddison or Bergvall or anything. He's trying to give these players minutes on who haven't been playing, who we're going to need later on in the season, who haven't played a lot in the past few weeks.
But Maddison's not going to play for the next 2.5 weeks. He's not on international.
But he still played
duty
on Thursday, didn't he?
Yeah, but it's irrelevant. Why
he
can't
might be
play?
tired.
Oh, come on. He's a professional footballer. You can't play 2 games in the space of a week.
Not a space of a week, a space of 3 days.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Madison's known for picking up injuries. If the one player I'm going to be worried about is someone like Maddison, to be honest. But I think Bergvall's one you can scrutinise a bit more because I think he should be more up for it. But someone like Maddison, I can completely understand that, in my opinion.
I can't understand it. And I think it was a complete oversight from Ange. I feel like he's taken this rotation thing a bit too far this weekend. I don't know how you can't agree with that.
I didn't like the selection. I didn't like that midfield. I said before the game when I saw it, I don't like that midfield. And so it came to pass. I don't think that's why we lost the game, by the way, because we lost the game when Maddison came on. But obviously we weren't able to create or do anything when... I'm not saying when Maddison came on is also why we lost the game. We lost the game for a different reason. But I completely agree. I didn't like the midfield. I would have liked Bergvall or Maddison to be in that midfield, right? But he rotated the squad from the team that started and had a performance on Thursday in Europa League, and he decided to use the players that weren't playing. And he put Graham in field. He put Bentancur in. I think, yeah, he shouldn't have put Basuma in. I think that was the big one. He probably should have put Maddison or Bergvall in, but he felt that he couldn't start them for one reason or another. But I don't think he decided not to start them because of a tactical reason. Put it that way.
No, it can't be a tactical reason, because if it is a tactical reason, then he's worse than we all thought. But I genuinely think it's because he's looking forward to the Europa League and he wants to make these kind of changes. He wants to rotate the squad, and I just think he took it a bit too far.
I don't think he's looking forward. I think he's prioritising Europa League, but I don't think he rested these players because we're going to play a first choice 11 in 3 weeks' time. I think he rested players because...
Why did he make 7 changes then?
Because they were tired from Thursday. He had to make changes from Thursday. We still played on Thursday.
Yeah, but 7 is a bit excessive. Like, we've seen plenty of teams that can play with a lot less than 7 changes from a Thursday to a Sunday.
Yeah, but we're in a different situation to most other teams. We're just getting these players back. Some were still managing minutes for a lot of these players.
Why was Solanke fine? Solanke played 90 minutes. He played on.
He's a different case, clearly.
He played on Sunday.
Maybe he's a different case. He's more physically robust than Maddison.
Romero as well played on Thursday, and then he played on Sunday. These are two players.
Played an hour. We had to manage his minutes.
Agreed. But these are two players that have just come back from injury.
Yeah.
So I don't understand.
Different kind of
Spence
injuries.
as well.
Different kind of injuries.
Spence as well came back. Hasn't come back from injury, but he played on Thursday.
My point is every player's different. Every player's different. Some players you can play, some players you can't. I think if you look at Maddison, and given his history, we know he's probably one of those players who does need to be managed. I think that's what his history tells us with him.
I think you're just making excuses for.
Is that not true with Maddison? He's picked up injuries every season.
He has.
And this season he's only had 2 to 3 weeks. He had one injury
down
out.
To Ange's unbelievable management of
I never
Maddison.
said that. I'm just saying we have to manage him.
Up injuries, but I think, look, we're just going to go around in circles.
I think Bergvall, I agree with you. I think if anyone, he should be the one to start because I think he's a lot more physically robust. He can probably handle it a bit better.
Whether it's Bergvall or Maddison, we need an attacking-minded player in there. And regardless whether it's Bergvall or Maddison, Ange got it wrong and completely wrong on the weekend. At least we can agree on that.
I think we should add an attacking player in there, yeah.
So just say Ange got it wrong and we can move on.
We should add an attacking player in there.
You can't even say it, can you?
What?
That Ange got it wrong.
I'm not in the physical department. I'm not in the medical department. I'm sure if he wanted one of them to start.
Deflecting, man.
What deflecting? What deflecting?
Just say the words. Ange got it wrong. It's not so hard.
I'm pretty sure
that Ange got it wrong because that's what you're saying, but you just won't say the words.
I'm pretty sure Ange would have wanted one of them in the team, or if he felt he could start them.
Just say Ange got it wrong so we can move on.
Why?
Because you believe he got it wrong.
But I would have wanted to see an attacking player in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you say, what was the reason for not playing Bergvall or Maddison?
You have
Maddison,
to ask the medical department.
Oh, my days.
He's rotating.
All right. Let's move on. And look, the game actually started, right? And I thought for the first 5 minutes, I thought the intensity was similar to the way we started the Alkmaar game. I thought the intensity was good. I thought we started the game fairly well. And then it kind of just switched and, we were unable to progress the ball up the pitch. And I felt basically it was Fulham's attack against Romero and Ben Davies pretty much for the first 45 minutes. And Romero was heading everything away. Ben Davies was looking good for the first 45. I mean, we found it really hard to get the ball out of our half for the majority of it.
Yeah, we had pretty much one thing the whole half, wasn't it? And that was Tell went on a bit of a run down the left-hand side. And to be fair, if you actually watch it back, he really should be finding Solanke or Johnson in the middle, shouldn't he? And so that was disappointing. We did really well to get in that position. So that was quite good. But other than that, it was a struggle. But it was like a really tight game by both sides. I thought we defended quite well. We didn't really give Fulham too many opportunities. They had one opportunity which actually came from a Ben Davies mistake. I think a cross comes in, he makes a hash of the clearance, falls to Castagna, and simple save in the end from Vicario. That's the only chance of the half really for either team.
Yeah, and in that moment actually Marlon made a really good point on the watch along when we were watching that moment, and at that moment Ben Davies didn't even need to go for that. All Vicario needs to do is make the shout to Ben Davies, and he should leave that.
Yeah, he makes a hash of it, and I think that could have obviously been costly, but lucky for us, Castagna didn't finish it. But it was a pretty dead game in that first half, let's be honest. We didn't really do much, they didn't really do much.
If anyone was looking more likely to score, it was definitely Fulham.
Probably, but they didn't really look like scoring.
No, I think that's a credit to Ben Davies and Romero for the majority of that first half, because I think both of them were having top games. But you look at
I think Gray was struggling, I felt.
Yeah, you look at the midfield. The midfield was really struggling, all three of them, to be honest. I think Gray was probably the better out of the three. He was kind of like in that anchor position, but Bissouma and Bentancur were just playing us into trouble consistently.
Yeah, I agree. And it was we weren't able to kind of get any sort of progression up the pitch. Look, Fulham are a tough team at Craven. It could be a tough team at Craven Cottage. We've seen good teams go there and really struggle to create opportunities, and especially with the midfield we had out there with the real lack of ball progression. I felt Davis and Romero trying to play the ball into feet to a lot of these midfielders. I think Basuma just going hiding, not wanting to pick up the ball. I thought Gray and Bentancur at least showed a bit of more willingness to get on the ball, but playing it safe too often. And the only real threat, we didn't really have any threat in the final third, but the only one who looked like maybe doing something was Tell. He had one moment and that was it. So it was a really disappointing first half, but it was also a very close game. It wasn't like we were being played off the park. It was just a very, very tight game where of very little chances for either side. That's how I describe that first half.
I think if Romero wasn't playing for the first 45 minutes, they probably would have scored, because I think he was doing such a good job like keeping them out. I think it was the defence that stood strong when the rest of the team were pretty much failing, to be honest. And it was a hard watch in that first half.
I think the midfield did a decent job defensively as well. It was just on the ball. It was all a bit of a shit show, to be honest. And it was a hard first half. But I said before the game when I saw the lineup, I said if we can keep it to like 0-0 going into the second half and then bring some of the subs on, we'll be in a good position. That was kind of my thinking. Maybe that was Andrew's thinking, but that was what I was feeling when I looked at the lineup. And then obviously at half time he had seen enough. And he brought Bergvall on, he brought Son on. And I thought for the second time in a week, by the way.
Yeah. He did that against Bournemouth and he's done it again against Fulham. Same players going off, same players coming on. And Bissouma and Brennan Johnson need to be doing a lot more with these minutes. I mean, Brennan Johnson has been tasked with being our first choice right winger. He's been hooked the last two games at half time. Bissouma, he's supposed to be one of the most experienced midfielders that we got, experienced players in the squad. The beginning of the season, or beginning of last season even, they were talking about him potentially being part of the leadership group. These players' performances are nothing short of a disgrace at the moment.
Bissouma seems like a guy who knows he's on his way out. That's what he seems to be playing out like at the moment. He seems to be like feel that he's not wanted a bit, feel maybe that he's kind of surplus to requirements. When he first came in, and for a lot of Andrew's tenure, he's kind of been the guy we've all been kind of relying on and thinking he's going to be our midfielder, but hasn't been the case. And now we're picking the likes of Bergvall ahead of him in the number 6, not even Bentancur anymore. And the way he's playing, it kind of seems like he's checked out a bit. And that's kind of the impression he gives off at the moment. He's just letting games pass him by. Even Bissouma, even in games where he hasn't played well, you can still rely on him to, at least put tackles in and get around the pitch a bit. And he's not doing that in the moment at all. He's not even doing that in especially in this kind of game. And in this kind of game, when in that midfield three, when Gray's playing the anchor, it's his responsibility and he's got the ability to try and get on the ball and progress up the pitch and drive with the ball at his feet. And he didn't want to get on it. He didn't want to win the ball back. He was just a passenger in that midfield on the day, and rightfully hooked off at half time.
Yeah, and Ange obviously spoke about Bissouma and criticised him in the press conference after the game. At the beginning of the season, he was saying I would never criticise or call out one of my players in the press. He's now done it to Timo Werner, and now he's done it to Yves Bissouma.
I think, again, I know people are going to say I'm defending Ange, but...
Well, you probably are.
But he was asked a direct question about Bissouma, right? And it wasn't exactly overly critical. He says, I feel sometimes Bissouma lets the game drift him by and needs to be more dominant. I mean, that's nothing out of the ordinary that we've heard from any other manager. I don't think that's like you would say that's like, oh, that's direct criticism. He was asked a direct question about Bissouma and he gave an assessment about it. Yeah. And I think that's fair, but I wouldn't say like, oh, he's calling out Bissouma. That's what it was. Like, he didn't go out of his way to call him out, is my point.
He didn't go out of his way, but he still did it.
That's why I mean. Is that overly harsh? Is that overly critical?
I mean, there's two ways you could answer that question. There's either speaking the truth and calling out one of your players, or you protect one of your players.
He said it's safe to say maybe Bissouma and a few guys are lacking a bit of confidence. He's not like saying he's rubbish. He's not like, it wasn't like the Werner one where that was very, very critical. This is just a bit different. He's saying he sometimes lets the game pass by and needs to be more dominant, but maybe he's lacking confidence. Like, that's not a major criticism.
If it's not a criticism, what is it?
That's just an assessment of the performance, like
a critical assessment. Yeah.
All right, but so no manager is allowed to say that a player has had a bad game.
No, of course you're allowed to say that. I'm not saying they're not allowed to say that, but he has gone on record to say I would never
say stuff like that about my players in the press.
No, I think that's different. That's different.
And he's done it twice now.
I think that's different. I think yes, he's saying he could do better. He's saying he's lacking a bit of confidence, but he's not out there saying like really going in on him, is he? That's the impression that people are saying that he's doing, and he's just not.
All right. Well, look. Second half comes. Johnson Bissouma hooked once again. And Bergvall and Sonny, I thought, really helped up the intensity in that beginning stages of the second half. We looked the better side. We were on top of them for the opening, until the 60th minute, really.
I think whenever Romero went off.
Basically, yeah. And, we were asking the questions. Dom Solanke had a couple of chances that he should have gobbled up. We were looking creative. Sonny was laying on a chance. I mean, I felt like pretty much the game kind of flipped at half-time, where Fulham were the ones maybe asking a few questions, the ones on top of us in the first half, and then we were the ones on top of them with a bit more intensity. And, Bergvall, how embarrassing must it be for someone like Bissouma when you're a 28-year-old? Before you joined Spurs, people were talking about you in the light of one of the best midfielders in the Premier League. And this 19-year-old kid, Bergvall, from the Swedish league comes along, and he's outshining everyone at the moment. Everyone he's outshining, he's looking more up for it. He looks like he wants it. He's consistently asking for the ball. He's consistently drifting past players. He's consistently driving the team forward. I mean, he is our most reliable player at the moment, particularly in midfield. And it must be an embarrassment for these regular senior pros, right? Like Bentancur or like a Bissouma.
Undroppable. He's absolutely undroppable at the moment, Bergvall. And he's completely outplaying anyone in that midfield consistently. And you can just see the physicality he plays with as well. Absolutely phenomenal. I think he came on, was a breath of fresh air, was able to get the ball up the pitch, really consistently. All of a sudden, we had a player that the Fulham players couldn't get near, and they were struggling to contain. Within a few minutes, he had that really nice cross to Solanke, obviously headed it wide, and he was involved in all our best stuff in that second half. Could have won a penalty late on in the game as well. I thought it was a brilliant second half performance from him, and it was so great to see him back on. And again, similar to the Bournemouth game, once he comes on, it all changed, and he's just completely undroppable at the moment. He's playing such a good level consistently. I thought Sonny was a bit more of a threat than Brendan was anyway as well. I thought Tell on the right-hand side looked okay as well, had a couple of moments. So I think all of a sudden we were looking a lot more creative. I think we were really pressing them. We're having corners and putting them under a lot of pressure. And I think the big chance comes, obviously Maddison just comes on and we have that big chance. Tell has a shot. Leno with a
What
save.
an effort by Tell, by the way.
Lovely
really
effort.
Good effort.
Yeah, heading for the corner. Tipped wide by Leno. Falls to Maddison, doesn't really react that quickly, but he manages to just chest it to Solanke. He's got to finish it. He's got to finish that opportunity. And let's be honest now, I love Dom, and I think he's been brilliant for us. But that's not the first time he's missed a big opportunity and a big time.
Yeah.
And this season where we've been 0-0, the game's in the balance, and he has an opportunity.
Just remember his debut at Leicester.
That happened there. I remember not long, I think at Bournemouth, I think the game was 0-0, goes through 1-1, and he blazes it over. It's happened a few times for Dom Solanke now. And I know he's not Harry Kane, and I know he's not going to be as good a finisher as him. But if he's going to be starting striker for Tottenham, he needs to be a bit more ruthless and clinical in front of goal. And I know he puts in great work, and I'm not saying he's not good enough for us, but I want to see a bit more good finishing ability from him, because that's one thing that's really let him down a bit this season. Is he doesn't, first of all, doesn't get himself enough chances, and the chances he does get, he's just not absolutely ruthless. He's not a killer. He seems to need like 2 or 3 chances to score, and yesterday was another more evidence of that. That was very disappointing.
Yeah, I completely agree with that, but I think that was an outlier in that kind of moment in the game. When Romero goes off, I mean, we said it on the watch-along, like, if you're not bringing on Van der Ven, then you're going to put yourself in an enormous amount of trouble with that back two of Archie Gray and Ben Davis. And I think that's exactly what showed, to be honest. I mean, Romero,
I don't know why he brought Van der Ven if he wasn't going to play him.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, why, if you're going to take off Romero, you've got to bring on a Van der Ven. What's the point of putting Archie Gray at centre-back when you've got Van der Ven at your disposal? And I get you're trying to manage his minutes, but he's on the bench, so surely he's good enough to play half an hour.
You would have thought so. I don't know why he brought him if he wasn't at least good enough to play 20 minutes or whatever it was at the end of the game.
20 minutes, yeah, it was 20 minutes.
I don't know. It was peculiar for me. I thought that was what he was going to do if he was doing it. I thought Romero's going to go off. You bring Van der Ven on, and then at least you have two centre backs. But
Didn't happen, and it cost us at the end of the day.
I don't think that goal happens. That goal, well, first of all, that Sessegnon goal doesn't happen if Romero's on the pitch, in my opinion. Because Ben Davies had to come over, right? And there's no chance in hell Romero's getting bullied like Ben Davies got bullied.
Agreed. I completely agree. I thought it was embarrassing what happened to Ben Davies for that goal. To be fair, I think Spence was a bit lazy for the goal. If you watch it back as well, he should be sprinting to get back in position. I don't know why he's just watching it all play out and just like, I think he's just assuming Davies is going to win it and we're just going to be on the front foot. So he's kind of getting ready to go forward again. But he should be realising the danger, and he doesn't. Davies just got completely bullied. I also thought for the first goal, that something happened that pretty much didn't happen all game. I think one other thing that really changed the game wasn't just Romero going off, but also Muniz coming on. I think that really changed it, because all of a sudden they had this threat in their half that kept consistently winning headers, and that was just putting us under pressure. I think we saw when we played RZ the difference it made when Prowett was winning all these headers against Gray in the game in their stadium, and all of a sudden now it's putting us under pressure because they can build attacks and gets it to the winger, and all of a sudden there's a chance there. Once Romero van der Ven comes on, that those headers are being stopped at source, and all of a sudden we're the ones that are actually winning the ball back and starting attacks ourselves. And we were doing that for most of the game. I think Jimenez was getting very little spare change out of our defenders, but as soon as Muniz comes on, he wins that header from a long kick from Leno, and all of a sudden it falls to Adama Traore. I know we win the ball back and Odegaard ends up giving away, but just that little bit of keeping the ball in our half, which wasn't happening much in that half in the second half. I think that just gave Fulham that confidence and a bit of something to build on in those moments, and I think that was really costly.
Yeah, no, it's completely true. And like I said, that second half just completely flipped when Romero went off, and I think we could all see it and have the foresight to see it. But what topped it off was bloody Ryan Sessegnon. The vlog was so funny because Ryan Sessegnon comes on, you hear the away fans clapping him, saying, yeah, fairly good servant to the club. Well, I say a good servant to the club, but he was at the club for how long? What, 4 years? 4 or 5
Between
years?
2019 and last season, 23.
Yeah. So, he was at the club.
24.
Had his, endless amount of problems at the club, and obviously he leaves and he has an injury-free season as soon as he leaves the club. He comes on, the away fans clap him, respectable away fans, and then a few minutes later, his first touch, he's putting the ball in the back of the net. We talked about him bullying Davis, but what a finish at the end of it. Unbelievable. Top bins.
Yeah, on his right foot.
On his right foot as well. I just couldn't believe what I was watching. It was just like...
Our Ryan Sessegnon, is it? Is this our Ryan?
You know what I mean?
Is that not Stefan Sessegnon?
You said it in the vlog, and I said it. We must have said it at the exact same time. You just can't write this stuff. And... you probably can, because this stuff always seems to happen against Tottenham Hotspur. But when he came on, I did have that feeling that he was just going to put one in the back of the net.
Not like that, but the way he bullied Davis, got on his right foot and just curled it into the corner. Brilliant goal, fair play to him. But it's just a shit show from our point of view. Like both goals come from long kicks from Leno into the front line. And I think again, I completely agree. If it's Van der Ven or Romero in that position, I think that goal easily gets stopped. I think very easily. I think Davis was favourite to that ball as well. He just gets shoved out of the way by Sessegnon. It's so embarrassing, but credit to Sessegnon because it's not an easy shot from that position. And it's a great goal, not an easy position, but once it's 2-0, it's a game over at that point. Very, very frustrating. But I think not having Romero or Van der Ven there really, really cost us.
Yeah, it cost us the game.
That's
the reality. Yeah. So,
but again, also, I want to say it's just another example. It happens so often this season. It's another example of us like in the ascendancy, looking like on basically in our best period of the game, and we concede, and that seems to happen so often. And I don't know what the cause is of that, but it seems as though when we're under pressure, like we get a bit lucky, but as soon as we start to assert ourselves in the game, then we all of a sudden concede a goal. Like it's so frustrating how that keeps happening, and always seems to happen as soon as we miss a chance as well. We miss a chance and they go up the other end and score. That happens so often. And yesterday was another example where it looked like we're just getting a foothold. We were in control of the game. Fulham weren't doing anything, and we conceded a really sloppy goal. So it's very frustrating.
Yep. But the reality is 15 losses, only 10 wins this season, 4 draws, sitting on 34 points after 29 games this season. I mean, I just can't even believe it. I can't believe how bad this season has actually been in terms of points tally and losses. I believe our record losses was under Ozzy Ardiles. I think Marlon mentioned that to me in the watch long. I don't know what the number is of how many losses it is that season, but surely we're getting close to that.
19.
Is it 19? Yeah. So 4 more, and I guarantee you we're losing 4 more games this season.
Well, if we're going to keep prioritising the Europa League, probably, because we're going to keep making changes in the league, and that's what we should be doing, to be honest.
Still got to go to Stamford Bridge at Anfield, so that's probably 2 more losses. So can you find 2 more losses apart from that? Of course you can.
Probably. Look, we'll see how the season ends. It's going to be it's set to be one of, if not our worst ever Premier League, one of our worst ever Premier League seasons.
Our worst Premier League season.
Yeah, set to be, and that's unacceptable.
And you're looking at the managers that we've had in this club through the Premier League era, the Christian Grosses, the Jerry Francises, all these guys that have been clowned upon. You know, Christian Gross coming with his train ticket saying, you know, this is the ticket to success and all that rubbish.
He actually went on and did quite well at Basel after.
Yeah, he did. Well, every man. That seems to be a common theme with Tottenham Hotspur. Mm-hmm. Nuno got sacked after 10 games. He's in the Champions League places with Nottingham Forest. But all these managers that have come in and we've clowned upon them over the years, Ange Postecoglou has come in and he's doing a worse job than all these managers. And I can't see us winning the Europa League. I can't even see us getting past Frankfurt. And I can't see him being here next season. Like, I just can't. Like, what leg does he have to stand on?
Well, if he wins the Europa League, that's the only leg he'll have to stand on.
Yeah, but let's be real. Come on. Do you really genuinely believe we're going to win the Europa League?
If we have Romero and Van der Ven fit, I think we've got more of a chance.
Yeah, we might have more of a chance, but do you think we're actually going to go and do it? Like, come on.
Who knows? I still think we got a chance of winning it. Obviously, we're still in it at the moment. We're in the quarterfinals. I think we do look a lot better than Romero Van der Ven. I think yesterday, if we had Romero Van der Ven, we don't lose that game. So I think we are a different team. I don't think it's just specifically Romero Van der Ven, just 2 good centre-backs together. Like, I think that's obviously very, very crucial, especially how we play. But I think there is a chance there for sure. I'm looking at Lazio losing 5-0 on the weekend. The other teams in there are not. They're beatable. Obviously, we are as well, very much so. But hopefully, we can do something there. That's what we got to hope on, because the league's done. The league's been done for a while. We know that. And I think in the position that we are, we have to prioritise that Europa League, because that's the only way we're going to kind of do anything good this season is in that competition. So as much yesterday, as much I was frustrated and I was annoyed and upset with the way the game ended, at the moment it's all on the Europa League. That's the reality. And I know you can't just keep losing game after game in the Premier League as well. You have to kind of keep up some sort of standards. I think yesterday was just, I wouldn't say it was a good performance, but again, if we weren't managing Romero's minutes, we probably don't lose that game. But we're still in that situation where we're managing some of our best players in that situation. So maybe if Danso was there, it could have been different. The fact that he wasn't there. So
we're managing our players badly. That's what we're doing. Managing our players badly. Like, Van der Ven's on the bench, so why take him on the bench if you've got no ambition to bring him on? Like, if Romero's going to come off, obviously you put on a Mickey Van der Ven. Obviously, if you put Archie Gray and Ben Davies at the back, we're going to ask for trouble. I mean, it's just pure. It's just like not even a hard thing. Like, any fan in the away end or any fan watching on TV could have told you the same thing, but Ange Postecoglou can't see it.
Yeah, but I look at that and I don't think like he's an idiot for not playing Van der Ven. I'm sure he would have wanted to play Van der Ven. I don't know why he didn't. I don't know why he brought him if he wasn't going to play him.
Some managers make strange decisions. That's just what it is, and it's a strange decision. A lot of decisions yesterday were strange, and he's been making a lot of strange decisions over the course of the season.
Maybe if you have the same information he did, you wouldn't have played him as well. I don't know.
Yeah, but you could say that about anyone. You can say that about anyone, but you've called for other managers to go in the past. Like, I don't understand this consistent backing of these decisions by Ange Postecoglou. Like, what is it?
I don't agree with it, personally. I can't, based on the information I have, I don't agree with it, put it that way. But I don't have all the information. This is different. This is you're asking, like, before you kept saying you can't play tired players, and well, if Maddison was tired, maybe he was tired. That's why I didn't play. Like, I don't know. Like before you said no point playing a player who's tired. That was your words. Maybe he was tired.
Maybe, but why should he be tired after playing one game on a Thursday night?
Is that Ange's fault he was tired?
Well, you don't even know he was tired.
I'm pretty sure that's why he didn't play. I think if he was completely 100% and felt like he could play from the start, he would have played him. I'm pretty sure Ange, who's one of the most attacking managers in the league and the most attacking manager we've had, would have wanted attacking players at midfield. I'm pretty sure about that. If
Maddison barely even plays. Like, how can he be tired? He's a professional athlete. Like, what is this? Like, how can he be tired? He's barely played.
Players get tired, especially when they played not long, only on the Thursday night. And they were playing early on the Sunday.
Tired? Seriously.
Maddison's one of those players that we know he's had a history of injuries. Maybe when he's been overplayed. I don't know.
He hasn't been overplayed. That's the whole point.
Right, but we're trying to keep that happening. We don't want to overplay him.
Yeah, and he's got 2.5 weeks off to train and do no.
He still played on Thursday
for 2.5 weeks.
But he still played on Thursday.
One game. He didn't even start on the weekend before that. Like, where's this tiredness supposed to come from? How is he supposed to be tired? It's a ridiculous statement.
He might. Well, why is it ridiculous?
How can he be tired?
He could be. He could very well be. He played on Thursday. He's a player who's not that physically robust. He's a player that, does get a lot of whacks and these stuff. And maybe he's tired from Thursday.
All right. Well,
I don't know what's so ridiculous about that assertion. A player that played on Thursday.
Played, that's why.
He hasn't barely played.
He has barely played.
He played a good amount of minutes on Thursday.
Yeah, and before that he played, 20 minutes in the Bournemouth game?
He came on half-time, didn't he?
No, he came on after half-time.
He came on after half-time.
It was Sonny and Bergvall that came on at half-time.
Look, I'm sure that if Ange if Ange wanted to, felt like he could play one of those players from the start, he would have. He must have felt like he couldn't have.
He just got it wrong. That's the reality.
Maybe he got it wrong. If they look, put it this way: if they were ready, if they were fit enough to start, and he didn't start them, then he got it wrong.
Yeah. All right. Well done. That is our match review of the Fulham 2-0 game. We're going to get into some super chats, and then we're going to move on to player ratings. First up is Rich Frith from Members Chat. Member of 32 months says, "I cannot wait for the season to end. Nightmare." Absolutely spot on. C9 Manic says, "What that performance from a rotated side shows that the players elevate Ange's tactics, not the other way round." What do you have to say about that?
The players elevate Ange's tactics, not the other way around. I think that's the truth of any good players, right? They elevate the manager's tactics.
Yeah, but there's also a sense to say that sometimes the system can kind of get you through games if the system is good enough. That doesn't seem to happen at Spurs.
That's fair enough. Well, I think most of all, when the system can get you through games, depending on what kind of system it is, for sure. And at the moment, that's not happening. At the moment, we need the right players, especially the centre-backs in those positions, that's for sure, and to stop us conceding those sloppy kind of goals, which are really costing us at the moment. But I think in general, better players elevate any manager's system, yeah.
Ben Kaufman, member for 43 months, says, "Afternoon, boys. Enough is enough. Hashtag Ange out." And the Joracle with the super chat. Big up to you, Jory, says, "The fella can't save himself, let alone our THFC."
Can't save himself? What's that supposed to mean?
I think he's talking about Ange.
No, I know. But if he can't, what's he trying to say? He can't save. What does he mean? He can't save himself?
It's a good question. But he can't save himself.
Is he saying he's not healthy? Like he's overweight? Is that what he's saying? The coughing? I don't know. I mean, is he? He's acting like he's like security or something.
He can't save his job and he can't save our club. That's probably what he's saying.
Well, if he can't save his job, he definitely can't save our club because he's not going to be here.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to player ratings. Fulham 2, Tottenham 0. Starting off with Vicario, 6s all round. I don't think he had any chance with both the goals, both brilliant finishes from Muniz and Sessegnon. Apart from that, dealt with everything that came his way. I think he was flapping at a a few crosses, weren't he? When I think the last couple of games he's been quite confident in catching those. So that was a little bit of a concern.
Yeah, I don't remember him flapping. I remember him punched one straight to Willian, but from outside the box. But I think that was a good punch, actually. I don't remember him flapping too many. He didn't have anything to do, let's be honest. He made one save from Castagna, which was an easy save. And that was it. It was a very quiet day for him, to be honest. Fulham really didn't have many chances in the game.
Jed Spence up next. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him a 6.
I was supposed to give him a 6, but anyway.
Both give him a 6 then. I think he was okay. Not his best performance, not his worst. Probably close to one of his worst, to be honest, this season, because that's how good he's been. But I think nothing really got past him from a defensive capability for the majority of the game. I thought he defended quite well. Apart from the goal that we can see that he should have busted a gut to get back, and he didn't. In terms of offensive, I don't think he offered too much going forward. Yeah,
I think it was disappointing in the second goal for sure. I think he switched off, assuming Davis was going to win the challenge, wasn't thinking about the worst case scenario, and end up that Sessegnon bullied Davis for the goal. I think there are some moments where he did quite well, like dribbled well, travelled quite well on that right hand side, but want to see a bit more from him in the final third. Want to see getting to the byline, whipping some crosses in. Didn't really see enough of that. But I think overall wasn't a bad game, but we've seen better.
Next up is Cuti Romero. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Definitely our best outfield player on the day. I thought he was brilliant for the most part. Obviously only lasted an hour with Ange managing his minutes and everything like that. And and I thought particularly in the first half, he was a reason why Fulham weren't able to create any sort of real chance on goal. I thought, he was battering everything away. At times in that first half, it felt like it was pretty much the Fulham attack against Romero and Davis, and I think they more or less ended up on top in most actions, particularly in the first half.
Yeah, I thought he was great. It was so great to have him back on the pitch again from the start, and I think he's been really good since he's come back, apart from the Bournemouth game. I think by and large he's been really, really positive to see him back in the team, and I thought Jimenez couldn't get a kick. I think he was let down a bit with the fact that some of his passes into some of the Spurs players, they weren't really, looking for the ball or protecting it well, and this passing on Thursday was created so many more opportunities, but unfortunately it didn't happen yesterday. But I thought defensively fantastic, and obviously the game really changed when he went off, and that's probably what cost us. So I thought he had a top game.
Ben Davis, we give him a 5 all round. There's positives and negatives in there from Ben. I felt first half, obviously, he had that swipe at it, which could have gone horribly wrong. Luckily, we didn't concede from it. And apart from that, in the first half, I thought he was really good, to be honest. Like I said before, it was like Fulham's attack against our defence, and I thought Ben Davis held up to scrutiny for, apart from that moment in the first half, for the majority of it. In the second half, obviously, he had his helping hand in both the goals we conceded. The most worrying was the one against Sessegnon, because Sessegnon just seemed to absolutely bully him, and very hard to watch that moment. And after a good performance, what I thought was a good performance, he let himself down massively on the 2 goals that we conceded. So he had a massive part to play in why we lost the game.
Yeah, and the only chance in the first half, it was his mistake as well. So I think really he made 3 really costly errors, which one of them didn't get punished and 2 of them did. I thought in the second half when Muniz came on, he started to really bully him, and he won those headers, which just allowed Fulham that momentum, allowed them to sustain some sort of attacks, which was really frustrating. He didn't really get close enough to Muniz as well. Sorry, not Muniz, it was Pereira in the box to lay it off to Muniz, didn't get close enough. And the second goal was embarrassing from him, let's be honest, really embarrassing. Got bullied by Sessegnon and allowed him to get the shot off where it should never be happening in that situation. He was favourite for that ball as well, just got shoved aside. Really, really poor from him. And we expect better in those situations. And the first half as well, he tries to cut out this cross when he doesn't need to, and it just gives it another chance to Fulham. But it wasn't all bad, because I think he did have a lot of good clearances, and I thought actually he was really dominating Jimenez in that first half. So it wasn't all bad, but unfortunately his mistakes cost us.
Yeah, they were just telling moments, weren't they? Moving on to Destiny Udogie, Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. Again, I thought it was a bit of an up and down display from Udogie. I thought he was doing really well in terms of winning possession back for the team. He had a few nice drives where he was showing a bit of good dynamic, his old dynamic self, really. But what I was getting frustrated with Doggy, as much as he won it back a lot, he gave the ball away a hell of a lot, and I thought his passing was really frustrating.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was a terrible game from him, but especially before Adama Traore came on, I thought he was doing all right down that left-hand side. A few times he was linking up well with Son, especially when Son came on. But I thought once Adama came on, he all of a sudden he was not the kind of same. I thought all of a sudden he wasn't getting up the pitch that much, and I think in the final third could have done a bit better. I thought defensively didn't have a big problem with him. His passing in the middle of the park was better in the second half for that little period we're on top, but in the first half, I think he struggled to really combine with Tel for a lot of it. So yeah, could have done better.
Next up is Rodrigo Bentancur. 5s all round for Bentancur, and he was tasked with being our most creative outlet in the middle of the park yesterday, and yeah, he just couldn't create for love nor money. I found it really frustrating. I thought he was weak in the challenges for the most part. I mean, I'm just reading the stats here. 1 ground duel, 1 out of 7. So he came off worse for the majority of it. There were a few moments in the game where he was quite combative and he looked up for it, but I just felt like it was a really up and down game from Bentancur. When it was bad, it was really bad. Yeah,
I felt second half he was a bit better. I think he was getting some really good interceptions. He was getting us on the front foot, and a lot of the good work we were doing in that second half was a lot of it was down to some of the good work he was doing in the middle. But I thought first half it was similar to Basuma, but to not as bad an extent. He was just a passenger, wasn't really getting involved in enough duels and wasn't winning enough duels. And I thought it was a bit better in the second half, but that first half was really, really poor from him, and he's just been very up and down recently, Bentancur.
Basuma up next, 3s all round for Bis. Another shocking display from Yves Bissouma. So lackadaisical, careless. I don't know how to keep explaining these Bissouma performances, because they are just nothing short of a joke at the moment. And I think it's too much of a detriment to the team to keep picking him, unfortunately. And there's 2 Premier League games in a row where he's had to be hauled off at half time. We do have Archie Gray now that's played in the 6. I know he didn't play in the 6 this game, but that's where he has been deployed the majority of the season. But now we've got other players. We've got Sarr there. We've got so many players that can play in these midfield positions. I generally don't want to see Basuma anymore. Yeah,
I think Basuma seems just to be playing like a guy who seems to have kind of lost faith in him, in himself. He lost a lot of confidence, lost faith in his position in the club and where he's at the moment. He seems to know he's on his way out. There's obviously a lot of rumours flying around about him being up for sale in the summer, all this kind of stuff, and it seems to be affecting him and getting to him. He seems to be letting games bypass him, not really getting involved in duels anymore, not really being combative or aggressive, and rightfully hauled off. I think second game in a row he's been hauled off at half time in terms of when he started. So he's been in dreadful form, to be honest. After what I thought he wasn't having the worst season, but in the last since I can't remember if he had an injury, but last few months he's just been terrible, especially last month and whenever he's played. And I think at the moment he's nowhere near the team.
Yeah. Archie Gray up next, 5s for Archie. First start for him in midfield, I think it was. He played the kind of anchor role in the 6, and I thought he was okay, to be honest. Like at times, a bit careless on the ball, maybe at times. I thought he did this really good block for Iwobi at one point in the game. But yeah, I don't think after that performance you can say that we really trust him in that position, because I don't think it was a great performance. But I do think he was better than Basuma at Bentancur at times.
Yeah, I thought he struggled, to be honest, with the physicality of the game. I thought a few times he had to get on the ball and make quicker decisions, and he dawdled and he got caught, and sometimes his passing wasn't quite there. He did seem to grow into it a bit. He did seem to grow into the game a little bit and sort of seem to get to grips with it, which is not a rare thing for Gray. It's happened a few times this season where he started badly but grows into it. And I thought he seemed to get a foothold, especially in the second half, got a bit of foothold in the game. But then he moved to centre-back and started to struggle a bit, I thought, again, especially up against Muniz. So not a great day for Gray, but I want to see more of him in midfield. I think it's a weird one because he's been so long in defence. He needs to get back. He needs to get used to that midfield position again, especially playing in the Premier League. He needs to kind of get used to it. So I think we have to kind of be patient again with him.
Brennan Johnson up next. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 3. I'm not sure why I've given him an extra mark, to be honest, because he got hauled off at half-time once again. And how many times do we have to sit here and say it? When he's not scoring, he's impacting absolutely nothing on the pitch. And I can't remember one contribution at all that he had in those 45 minutes. He literally was a ghost.
He was terrible. I can't think of anything he did. Completely anonymous. Didn't really help out the fullback Spence. Didn't help out the strikers. Just Robinson had him on toast. To be honest, Robinson completely dominated that side. Robinson completely dominated that side. He had nothing during the game, and yeah, again, rightfully ruled off at half-time. I thought Tell will go into him in a minute, but he showed a lot more on the right than Johnson did. Just nothing, absolutely nothing to that performance.
Yeah, not really hard to show more than what Brennan Johnson did. But let's get on to Matisse Tell. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. It's definitely a step in the right direction, in my opinion, for Tell, because in the first half, there was that one moment, pretty much our only kind of moment in the game in the first 45 minutes, where he takes it past 2 or 3 men, and then obviously nothing came from it. But it was nice to see him actually driving at his man and taking on his man. Second half as well, moved over to the right at some point, and I didn't think he looked like overly dangerous, but he had a few moments again, having that shot which forced a save out of the keeper, and Solanke should have done a lot better. But yeah, I don't think it was a great performance or even a good performance by any stretch of the imagination, but there were a couple of moments in there maybe that we can take from and to improve on.
Yeah, I think it was better. I think it was better than what he's shown previously. Definitely looks a lot more comfortable on the wing. She looked a bit more confident at times. Was trying to take people on a bit more, was trying to run at people. Didn't always come off. A lot of time it didn't. One time it did in that first half, it created a really good opportunity, which he should have been doing a bit better with in terms of that ball across the face of goal. Solanke was in there, Johnson was in there. He could have found them with a better ball. Move over to the right-hand side in the second half, and I thought looked better than he did when he was on the left. Looked a bit more confident, had that shot with his left foot, really nice effort, which Leno had to save. And I thought he was linking up actually quite well with who was on that side of Berg. He was linking up quite well with Berg, Val and Spence down that side. And I thought we were getting quite a bit of joy there, but ultimately... he kind of didn't get the goal contribution, wasn't effective enough and had to be taken off. But I thought it was a lot better than what we've seen previously, and hopefully he starts to build on that. Yeah.
Let's move on to Dom Solanke. 5s all round for Big Dom. Look, definitely worked hard, as he always does, but the game and what people are going to go back to, and rightly so, are the big chances that he missed. And he missed 2 big chances on the day, and he's got to put at least one of them away. If he puts us 1-0 up in that moment of the game, we could have gone on to win the game or definitely draw the game. So unfortunately, the game for Spurs did hinge on kind of 2 moments. It was Romero coming off and also him missing those big chances. And he's got to be way more clinical than he is. Chances aren't coming his way on a regularity, and when they do, he's got to put them in the back of the net. Yeah,
and I'm sorry, the chance he missed was not good enough. I think he didn't kind of hold the ball up as well as he could have, as well as he has done in previous games. So that was a bit disappointing. But I think when it comes to Dom, he was in the box in that second half and he was getting some opportunities, and that's what you need him to do. But he's got to be way more clinical. He's got to be putting that volley away. He had a really good chance right at the end of the game as well, which Leno saved. And I think he also could have found Maddison, or I think it was Scarlett running at the back post. 2 of them there, he could have found them, but he went for the shot, which is fine, but he's got to be burying it. And in the end of the day, Leno was able to hang on to it, at least get him to tip it wide or something. I have to say with Solanke, his finishing has been a bit of a disappointment since he's come here. As much as I know when we're comparing him to, let's be honest, at this football club in Kane and Son, we've had some of the best finishers the Premier League has ever seen, especially statistically, that seems to be the case. So we're used to seeing unbelievable finishing, and maybe we're holding him to a higher standard, but it's also not unfair to say that we haven't really seen too many really good finishes from him, especially in good positions. I probably count on a few, definitely on one hand, because he probably only scored 7 goals this season, but I can't remember, apart from a few tap-ins, there's not been many goals where you think, that's a really good finish. Maybe the chip against Villa. Very few have been ones where you don't expect him to score, kind of thing.
But kind of we knew that before he came in, though.
Yeah, it's true, but I still expected a few more of them than we've seen, and we haven't seen very few at all.
As well, you got to say that we haven't provided him with enough service as well.
It's true. it's true, but he's underperforming his XG, and
Yeah.
that, you know, he shouldn't be.
Yeah. Let's go over to the substitute, Sonny, who came on at half-time. 6s all round for Sonny. The intensity of the game and the Spurs team definitely went up when Sonny came on the pitch, in my opinion. He was kind of putting in cross after cross after cross, trying to force something to happen, created openings for Dom Solanke, but unfortunately nothing came from his good work. But I definitely thought it was a good cameo.
Yeah, I think he looked bright. We looked a lot more dangerous when he was there, and I thought it didn't. I think he created a few opportunities as well. Created a few openings, and I thought he made a real difference in that second half. But it wasn't enough in the end. But definitely looked better with him and Tell on the wings than we did with Johnson there. So positive change, and I thought he positively impacted the game. But unfortunately, it wasn't enough.
Yeah. Bergvall up next. Sim gives him an 8. I gave him a 7. Again, the teenager comes on and makes an instant impact. He drives the team forward, always asking for the ball, always looking to move the ball quickly as well. Creative as well. Laid one on for Dom Solanke at one point in the game. And he's just so aggressive in the middle of the park as well, basically showing Bentancur and Basuma how to do it.
Yeah, unlucky not to win a penalty, I felt, as well, at 1-0. I think it was at 1-0. Could have made it 1-0. I think Bassi was a bit lucky to avoid that, because Bergvall definitely does win the ball ahead of him. But VAR didn't see enough to overturn the decision. But I think, again, that penalty was, again, kind of symptomatic of what he brings to the game, that drive, that willingness to take people on, and that ability to get around people and not be scared and be fearless. And that's what you need with someone in the middle of the park, and also putting a few really good challenges as well. Don't think he covered himself with much glory with the goal we conceded, though, kind of hanging behind Muniz, and maybe could have put a challenge in there if he was being sharp enough and on his game. But I think on the ball, fantastic, and really gave us a bit of momentum to drive forward, and the game really changed when he came on.
Maddison up next. 6s all round for Madders. And yeah, I mean, the only thing I really remember him doing is creating that chance for Solanke. Apart from that, I don't think he did much in the game, to be fair. But, you know, all you can ask him to do is come on and create a chance, and that's what he did. Yeah,
I think he looked bright, but again, without really doing much, to be honest. I think it just gave us a bit more of an impetus when he was on the pitch. He was able to link up with the likes of Bergvall and Son, and we just looked a bit more creative and progressive with him on the pitch. But yeah, he had that chance, and couldn't. Obviously, we conceded quite soon after that, so then the momentum got away from us.
And last but not least, in terms of playing staff, we're going to rate Wilson Odobert on the back of his brilliant performance in Europe. Unfortunately, Sim gives him a 3. I gave him a 4. Probably a 3 as a fairer reflection, to be honest, because you can't lose the ball in that area of the pitch. He opened up the game for Fulham, terrible, and I felt like every time he got on the ball, he pretty much gave it away.
Yeah, I had a bit of sympathy for him for that mistake, but at the end of the day, he did have 3 men around him. He needs help from his teammates, but I feel like if in doubt, you just get rid. You go long. He didn't. Maybe that's instruction. So maybe you got to put some of that blame on the manager if feels like he shouldn't go safety first on those kind of occasions. But it was really poor from him to just dribble his way into trouble. He's got 3 men on him, and he should be getting away from that situation. And then on the ball, didn't really do much. I thought Robinson easily dealt with him on that right hand side, and yeah, unfortunately didn't get any joy.
The stat is he made 5 touches on the ball and he lost the ball 3 times.
Oh, there you go.
So that's it with Odobert. And let's finish off talking about the manager, Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. I thought poor team selection. I understood that he needs to rotate. I did understand that, I understand playing Brennan Johnson, Tell on the wings. I had no problem with that. Even though Johnson's putting in stinker after stinker at the moment, I understand why he plays him, but you've got to have a creative player in the middle of the park, particularly with the way Ange Postecoglou likes to play. You have to have some sort of creativity in the middle, and we didn't have that. He recognised that at half-time, made changes, brought Bergvall on, brought Son on. It got a lot better, so credit to him for making the right changes at half-time. And then he takes off Romero and brings on Maddison and drops Archie Gray into the defence, which I thought pretty much swung the game in Fulham's favour. And I just don't understand, if Van der Ven's on the bench, why not bring him on for the last half an hour to keep that solidity at the back? Because the defence looked really strong up until that moment. And Romero was having a blinding game. and he takes him off and puts Archie Gray at the back, and we go and concede 2 goals.
Yeah, and that's ultimately what cost us at the end of the day, not having really one of those centre-backs on the pitch. When we saw the difference when we had them on, we didn't really concede too many chances. We were actually pretty comfortable going the other way, but unfortunately, as soon as they went off, Fulham started to get some joy. I felt at half-time, we had it at 0-0. I think 0-0 was probably a fair result at that point, to be honest. And then made some changes. We got in the ascendancy. We could have scored once or twice. And you're thinking, okay, this is going to plan at the moment. But as soon as Romero got taken off, I agree. The momentum swung. Muniz was getting all sorts of joy. And all of a sudden, Fulham got the momentum and they got the couple goals. So very, very disappointing. The way we rotated, I'm not too unhappy about. Just, I completely agree. Bergvall and Maddison, you have to see one of them in on the pitch, to be honest, if we had a way of playing through them, and that was exactly what was proven kind of in that second half. I understand as well, we a lot of these players he rotated, we're going to need them between now and the end of the season as well. They're going to need them to come in to play Premier League games. We're going to need them to get up to speed, so you can't just leave them out in the cold. But I think it was really disappointing not seeing Maddison or Bergvall from the start. And I don't understand the thinking of having Van de Ven on the bench if he's not coming on with 20 minutes to go, if you need to take off Romero. I understand if you feel the need to manage Romero's minutes. If that's where he's at, then that's fair enough. I'm pretty sure if he could play 90, he would have played him 90.
He's going to play lots of 90 minutes for Argentina now, though.
Might do, but then, he was playing with a problem for Tottenham last time, and then he played for Argentina and got taken off at 45 on both times. So that might happen as well. But yeah, if you need to manage Romero's minutes, then so be it. But 20 minutes of Van de Ven, I would be surprised if he couldn't manage that. But maybe you just felt like it wasn't worth the risk. But I don't know. I just felt it was an odd decision.
So that is our player ratings from the 2-0 loss at Fulham. Let's move on and see what 5 things we did learn from that 2-0 defeat. And first up is Muniz dominates. Yeah,
and I think this, coupled with obviously Romero going off, really swung the game. And I think what really is a telling stat in that game is that Jimenez, when he was on the pitch, and obviously he was on the pitch with Romero and Davis, he only won 2 aerial duels out of 7. And when Muniz comes on, obviously they went long to a lot, and he won 4 out of 5 aerial duels when he came on, and I think 3 out of 4 ground duels as well. So I think that tells me a lot about kind of how he impacted the game when he came on. Also tells me as well how difficult it was for centre-backs who were dealing with him to deal with him, and all of a sudden they were making it stick in their final third. All of a sudden they were getting kind of winning kind of duels in our kind of defensive third. They won in the first half of the first hour, and that meant we had were able to keep them away from our goal for large parts of that game. But as soon as he came on and we took Romero off, that completely flipped, and all of a sudden they got their chances and they took them.
Yeah, and obviously the Muniz sub coincided with Romero getting taken off 5 minutes apart. So Muniz gets taken off. 5 minutes later, Romero gets taken off. So they're bringing on a really physical striker, and we're taking off our most physical centre-back and asking Archie Gray and Ben Davies to deal with Muniz, which, obviously we all saw what happened. So it is what it is. Number 2 is positive tell.
I think, and it wasn't like a groundbreaking performance, but I definitely thought there were positive green shoots there from Matisse Tell in this game, and I thought it was a lot better than what he was showing when he was up front. Looked a lot more confident, and I think a few of the stats show that. I think he had created 2 chances, which was pretty good. He had 1 shot on target, which obviously led to one of the chances that was created, and he completed 2 out of 6 dribbles, which isn't a great number, but what it does show you is he's has that confidence to take people on. He has that confidence to run at people, and as he gains that, as that confidence builds, you hope that number starts to shift as well. And instead of it being 2 out of 6, it'll be 3 or 4 out of 6. The more he takes people on, and obviously the one time he did in that first half, he created a really good opportunity, which he should have done better with. But in that little moment, you saw what he's capable of, the quality he has, and I think obviously he's come here having not played a lot for Bayern. He's also come here and played up front and been bullied a lot. So maybe he's lost a bit of confidence, but hopefully this can be a step in the right direction from him winning that confidence back.
Yeah, I do think it was a step in the right direction. Hard not to with those performances as the number 9. Obviously, he hasn't played a minute in our last 2 games, so he hopefully was chomping at the bit to get on the pitch. He started on the left-hand side where we all wanted to see him. And yeah, it was slightly better. We saw some good moments in there, which we haven't seen since probably his first game or first couple of games at Spurs, where we saw some sort of good stuff in there from him as well. So hopefully, I think we have to keep persisting with Tel, particularly in the Premier League games. And we have to see what he's about. We need to be able to have something to go on to make that decision at the end of the season. And if he can keep improving from here, then I think that'll be good for us and good for him. And if we can keep growing his confidence, so he can keep taking on his men, to keep taking those shots as well. The one he took from like 25 yards, nice bending effort that the keeper was equal to, but it did, force a chance for Spurs. And on another day, we probably would have taken it, and we should have taken it on the day yesterday. But I think with Tel, we all know he's got a lot of talent. We just need him to show it on a consistent basis, and I think playing him will do him the world of good. There's no good him being here on loan and him being on the bench and not getting any minutes every game, because we don't learn anything.
Yeah, agreed. Obviously what was interesting about, him talking to the fans and stuff, maybe it's a sign that he does really feel part of a team and he feels the need to defend what's happening. When he's a lone player, he could easily wash his hands of what's happening right now on the pitch, and he didn't feel the need to do that. So interesting to see how
many of the other players are doing, by the way,
which is also true. So yeah, I wonder, you can read into whatever you want in terms of what that means of where his head's at.
It's actually mad that when you're looking at all the players that we have, the Madisons and everyone in the leadership group, Romero, Sonny, even Bentancur, Bissouma, all these kind of players, and it's Tel, the one coming over to the fans and trying to gauge where they're at and tell them, look, we need to be together. Was there anything in the away end, like, from the other players? Was there any kind of
Solanke gave a shirt to someone.
Apart from that, was there just nothing? Because we saw what Vicario and Maddison made gestures towards the away end out in Alkmaar. Was there anything like that? No, nothing.
No. They came over and clapped us, but
and that was it.
That was it, yeah.
Number 3 is costly Solanke.
Yeah, and obviously Solanke has gotten a lot of praise this season, and rightly so, for the lot of work he does and how different our team does look when he's on the pitch. And I'm not trying to take away from that, but obviously he missed 2 gilt-edged balls. He missed 3 chances in the end yesterday, but 2 really gilt-edged chances, especially the one which, had pretty much a whole goal to aim at. Obviously, it was a bit of a volley and he had to react quickly, so it wasn't the easiest chance, but still, he has to be burying that with a striker of his ability. And I think it raises a question about his goal scoring and his finishing, because obviously I know he's been injured for 2 months, but he's got 7 goals this season, but that's from 9.3 XG, and he's missed 10 big chances. And I know if you look at the top of the big chances missed stat, it's usually the top strikers because they get more chances. But the fact of the matter is, he has only got 7 goals, and he actually hasn't taken that many shots. He's only had 22 shots on target this whole season, 52 shots in all. And when it comes to per 90 stats, he's fairly low. So that means when he gets those big chances, he's got to put them away. He's got to be a lot more clinical. And yesterday, it definitely cost us. And there's a few games now that those big chances he's missed has cost us points and results. And I think the fact that he's underperforming his XG by quite a significant amount now, 2.3, which is, in XG terms, that is a significant underperformance. That does raise a question about, he has to improve his finishing, really.
Yeah, he's missed 10 big chances this season.
That's what I say, yeah.
Solanke. Yeah, it's not good enough. But, I love Solanke and I love his work rate and I love what he gives to the team. But I 100% agree with you. He needs to be getting better in front of goal. He needs to be that killer in front of goal, because when we signed him in the summer, 19 goals last season in the Bournemouth shirt. And we're thinking, all right, we're getting this killer in front of goal that can, not replicate what Kane did, but at least get multiple figures in terms of 15 plus goals for us in this season. It's not looking that way at the moment.
No. Look, he's a kind of striker who could go through a bit of a purple patch and got a few goals, but at the moment, he's just missing too many chances.
Number 4 is Bissouma's disaster class.
Yeah, and Bissouma obviously got hooked off at half-time after an absolute shambles of a performance, and I think the stats really show it in terms of how poor he was. 2 out of 6 ground duels won. No, didn't win any aerial duels. Won 2 duels and losing 5. Only 1 recovery in that whole half he made. Only 1 recovery in terms of winning the ball back. No interceptions. He lost his only tackle he attempted. He only made 3 defensive actions during the whole that first half. Considering he was playing a bit further forward as well, only 2 passes into the final third, nowhere near good enough. He only attempted 1 dribble, which was unsuccessful. He didn't create any chances. Obviously, he did complete 18 of his 22 passes, but most of them were backwards or sideways. When you're someone like Basuma and you're not competing for those duels, you're not winning those duels, you're not passing forward, you're not carrying the ball forward, what are you doing? You're not doing anything. And that was why he was rightly hooked off at half-time, wasn't getting involved in the game. And it was just a shambles, really, from him.
Yeah, and those stats that you just mentioned literally do tell the story of his game. Eye test, stats test, whatever you want to say. Basuma is putting disaster class after disaster class at the moment. And I've been a heavy critic of Basuma for some time now. And, people have told me, oh, but yeah, he's a really good fit for the system and blah, 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 blah. But his performance level and his confidence level and every level possible is going down and down and down and down. And I said in the last summer, I want to see him sold. And now I demand to see him sold this summer. He has to be sold.
Yeah, I think he's on his way out, and I think it's clear. I think he seems like a player who's checked out at the moment. And, I think sometimes when players know they're on their way out, you can see this kind of thing happen.
And last but not least, number 5 is Killer Blow.
Yeah, and again with Spurs, happened yesterday, and it's happened especially in the last few games, but has happened quite a lot over the season. Just when it looks like you're getting a foothold in the game, just like it seems when you're getting control of the game, we concede a goal, and especially just after we miss a chance, we concede a goal, and it's happened so often, especially in the last few games. You think about just Thursday on against RZ, we're just getting control of the game, we get a second goal, and bam, we concede from a silly mistake. The Bournemouth game, both goals we conceded were after 2 chances we created for ourselves, and just in our best moments of the game we conceded. When you think about the Villa game, I know we went 1-0 down early, but second half, just get our foothold in the game in the FA Cup. It looks like we're back in the game and we concede a goal in our best moment of the game. And it happened yesterday. Best moment in the game, we just creating a few chances, Madison's just come on, it looks like we're the ones with the ascendancy, and we go and concede a goal, and that is something that has been costing us, and it really kills our momentum whenever it happens as well. And it seems, I don't know if it's a mentality thing, I don't know, I can't put my finger on why that specific thing keeps happening, but it definitely seems to be a trend that we're in our best moment of the game, we seem to be just getting control of the game, and we concede a sloppy goal in it, and all of a sudden we lose momentum. And yeah, was there more evidence of that yesterday happening?
Yeah, and it's like Tottenham. They always bring you into a false sense of security, don't they? Because start the game poorly, we're looking like we're second best. Finally drag ourselves in it, and we're looking, all right, Spurs can do something today. And in that moment, when you fully get back on side, when you fully start
just to believe... Just when you believe, exactly.
They take it all away from you. And that is Tottenham Hotspur in a nutshell. And, it's not even just this Tottenham team. It's just Tottenham over the history of time. As soon as you start to believe, that's when they take it all away from you.
As soon as that thought into your head, so maybe we could win. Yeah. That's it. And then all of a sudden they hit you. They hit you. Don't ever believe that with Tottenham. How dare you? And that's it.
This is Tottenham Hotspur. But that is our 5 takeaways. Those are the 5 things we did learn from the game. Next up, we're going to be looking at how the internet did react to the 2-0 loss to Fulham, and we're going to start off looking at Nathan Clark's tweet. What's this one all about, Sim?
This one, so he's got he's done this rolling 5-game XG thing here for the whole season. So you can see, so the green one is obviously for, red is against. You can see obviously the beginning of the season. Well, if you look at last season, you see it was quite inconsistent. Started the season really well, and then it was quite inconsistent. This season, I think it tells the story of the season. Obviously, the beginning, quite pretty good actually, but then obviously it's gone really bad. We can't really see it because we're covering it, but obviously the red is really overtaken at the moment at the top. But I think the joke is it's starting to flip again. You can see the green and red are starting to get close again, right there on the front. So he's done that meme. I don't know if you've ever seen that meme of the guy who's digging for diamonds and he gives up just before he's about to hit them. So that's I think he's joined up. He's joined up the other meme.
Can't say I have.
Well, it's a well-known meme if you're on the internet. The meme is there's a guy digging for diamonds, and just as he's about to hit the diamonds, he gives up. That's the meme. So he's making a joke about that, but whether you believe that or not, I don't know. But yeah, look, the evidence suggests that we are getting a bit better. I guess that's the point.
Next up is Spurs Express. Only Ipswich Town, Leicester and Southampton have picked up less points than us over the last 15 Premier League games. That is shocking.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible.
We're looking at like 3 of the worst ever promoted sides as well.
Yeah.
The only teams that are worse than us. But
over the last 15 games, yeah.
Next up is Dom Solanke on his Instagram, says work to do to get back to our best after the break.
Yeah,
a lot of work to do.
Yeah, a lot of work to do. So they say that.
You know what I mean? I hate seeing these messages. I mean, I used to like it, and now it's just like it seems to be every game.
Well, you know, if you don't, but the thing is, if they don't say anything, you get people. I don't want to call them out. You get people like Brian, like, why are they saying anything? You know, he always calls people out for being silent.
Brian actually says the opposite. Actually, Brian hates these kind of messages, I think.
But I've also seen him call out people for not saying anything.
Have you?
Yeah, so. Maybe not Brian specifically, but I'm saying that you get these fans.
You heard that, Brian. He's calling you out. You're getting called out over here, Brian.
Brian, I love you. But what's it called? You do get fans who just like, if you don't say anything, why aren't they saying anything? Why are they silent? They're not even fronting up. And then they do say, oh, you say the same thing, everything. So they do. They win if they kind of lose either way.
So you're saying they're damned if they do, they're damned if they don't.
Basically, you just need to win games. That's essentially the point.
Yeah. And Bergval on Instagram says, we know that this is not good enough. We will come back stronger after the break. Thank you for the support as always. So
another one. Fair play to
Bergval is one of the players that I
you can like.
from,
exactly.
You know
he's a young player doing well, so you don't mind it.
Because he's doing well. You know what I mean? If you're consistently putting in shit shows, then
you're not going to like it.
It's kind of hollow. This is the wheel of excuses from Ange Postecoglou. Injuries, Mr. Hindsight, the fans, Brexit, the pitch, the media, global warning, Yves Bissouma. Apparently he mentioned the pitch again yesterday, but I
didn't see that anywhere. I watched all his interviews. I didn't see him anywhere blaming the pitch.
Yeah.
But maybe, I don't know, maybe word gets around. Maybe it's weird Chinese whispers, but maybe he did. I haven't seen it though.
I didn't see it either. So that was the Bergval one again. Next, Ricky Sachs says, unacceptable and inexcusable for Tottenham Hotspur to suffer 15 Premier League losses in a season. What is even worse is we are still only in March. This is the most defeats for Spurs in the league since 2008-2009, with 9 games still remaining. Yeah.
No, it's not. It's terrible. It's terrible. And yeah, I think there's no excuses for that many defeats. That's the truth.
Yeah. Next up is Ben Davis. Spurs tweeting out saying congratulations on reaching 350 appearances for the club. That's a hell of a lot of appearances.
That's mad. Ben Davis made that many appearances. Why can't we have like I don't want to shit on Ben Davis, but like I wish like we had like a world-class player to make that many appearances. You know what I mean?
How many did Kane make?
Probably less because he was there for. Sonny? He was there. Actually, probably must be more than Davis. Sonny. Maybe like, can't we have like a Nestor or a Maldini to do that? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Why'd you have to be Ben Davis? That's my only point. But fair play, Ben. Big up to you. Didn't have your best game yesterday, but good servant.
Yeah, this next one are texts that were exchanged between Dele Alli and Ruben Loftus-Cheek yesterday. Obviously, we'll get into, we've got the things out after that, but Dele Alli did reveal a conversation that he had with Ruben after the game. Obviously, Dele Alli came on for his first game in 2 years for Como.
Great to see.
Against AC Milan, which was lovely to see. But unfortunately, he did get sent off 10 minutes later for a challenge going into the back of Ruben. So Dele messaged him saying, "Mad ting, picture looks bad though. I just tried to clip your heel." And then there's a bit that's rubbed out, and he says, "When the ref went to VAR, I didn't even know it was for me." And then Ruben Loftus-Cheek replied saying, "Bro, I had no clue. I stayed down because I was blowing." And then Dele Alli says, "Don't piss me off. I'm putting this in a photo dump. Is that calm?" And if you scroll down, you can see what the challenge was. So George Stokely says, after Dele Alli was sent off 10 minutes into his Como debut, former Spurs teammate Kyle Walker attempted to plead with the referee to take back his decision despite playing on opposite sides. That's real teammates. And yeah, pick up Kyle Walker for that, by the way.
Yeah, fair play to him. Bit of an English affair in that one, isn't it? You got Walker, Loftus-Cheek, Dele, you got Tomori. A lot of English players there. But yeah, fair play to Walker. Obviously, I'm sure he would have been just as happy as anyone to see Dele back on the pitch, and just as devastated as all of us to see him getting sent off within 10 minutes. So, look, hard luck. Happens, unfortunately. I don't think it was like the worst challenge in the world, but wasn't a great challenge either. So I don't think you can have too many complaints.
Yeah, so if you just scroll down, this next one is, a small clip of the sending off. And
I think he just gets it a bit wrong.
Clipped his heels.
No, he kind of scrapes down the back of it. You can see his stud scraped down the back of his heel. So there's not a great challenge. I think he kind of gets a bit unlucky. You can see what he's doing. I think he tries to clip it, but his foot then goes over his heel and then scrapes down the back. I don't think he meant to do it, but fortunately in this day and age, you make that kind of challenge and you're risking it.
Yeah, but big up to you, Dele Alli. Great to see you back on the pitch, and hopefully after he serves his suspension, we'll see him get back to his best. That's what we all want to see. Romero takes to social media after the game as well, and he says, we're not happy with our current situation, but this group will always stand up and take responsibility for everything that happens at the club. Let's all continue to stand together. Once again, fans, thank you for always being there.
Yeah, and he can hold his head up high after a good performance, but obviously, unfortunately, he had to go off. He does tend to make these statements a lot, Romero.
Yeah, he does.
So, look, fair play, put out a statement, and I hope we take it on board. But at the moment, I don't think a lot of fans are receptive to it.
Football Confidential giving us those quotes on Bissouma from Ange Postecoglou in the press conference after the game. He says, I feel Spiss sometimes lets the game drift him by. He needs to be more dominant. Today we need more in that position. I had needed to play because he hasn't played a lot. At the same time, I need him to perform. It's safe to say maybe Biss and a few guys lack a bit of confidence, but at this stage of the season, we need people to perform. And I think all those things are true on Bissouma. He definitely seems as though he's lacking confidence at the moment. He seems as though he's massively lacking in the quality. Where is that Biss gone that can actually dominate games from the midfield area, take the game by the scruff of the neck and be able to drive the team up the pitch? That Bissouma seems to be long gone.
Yeah, and as I say, I think he seems to know he's on his way out, I think, and his performance level has dropped accordingly. He just seems to not feel the kind of, maybe he doesn't feel the love, or maybe it's just a mentality thing. It's hard to put your finger on why it's happening, but clearly is happening. And some people, when they know they're kind of not wanted, they check out a bit. I think that's what we're seeing from him.
Yeah. Spurs Express, 14th in the Premier League, 10 points off the top half.
Yeah,
that is mental. 10
crazy.
Points off the top half.
Yeah.
Well, exactly. You never know. 11th can get Europe this season. Right?
Exactly. So we're still in the fight for Europe. We are still in the fight for Europe.
If everything goes our way.
Yeah.
What do we need? We need Manchester United to win the Europa League. Obviously, if we don't win it.
If we don't win it, yeah.
I think we need Bournemouth or something to win the FA Cup. I think that's one of the situations, or a team that has finished in the European positions to win the FA Cup.
They finished in the like maybe a Brighton.
Yeah, a Brighton still in it. Yeah, so anyone in the European, basically, we need a lot of things to go our way.
Well, I think Newcastle was one of the things, wasn't it? If they finish in the European position, and then I think do we need Chelsea to win the Conference League? Yeah, it's not impossible.
Next up is the Romero thing, which we've been through. This next thing from the Spurs Insider, which was a video that we did share on our social media, is Ange Postecoglou clapping back at a fan that was critical of him yesterday.
Well, I mean, I don't know critical of anything, shouting names at him.
What did he shout exactly?
Apparently he was calling him a knobhead or something.
Knobhead.
Yeah. I think apparently before the video some fans were saying he was calling him a knobhead, and then he was shouting that. But yeah, look, it's not a good look for Ange as well to get so irate about it and clapping back. Like, he's also human, so they don't react to best situations, especially just after a loss. We've seen he can be a bit prickly, and I think definitely that's evidence of that. Interesting, Tell was the one, obviously, backing him up, just trying to show respect or something. Obviously, I don't like what the fan did either. as well. I mean, people just shouting things like that. I mean, I don't agree with.
I also don't agree with the fan calling Ange names here. I don't agree with that as much as, I've been heavily critical of Ange, but I'm not one to be there and call him names, and I don't agree with it. But this happens week in, week out in the Premier League, right? And the majority, 99.9%, pretty much ignore it. And Ange seems to clap back like way too often.
Well, it probably happens to him every game. We only see the time he claps back, but he has clapped up a few times for sure. Definitely, that happened at City, happened at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
Maybe there was another time it happened. I mean, I don't think he jumps into the crowd or anything, but he definitely doesn't ignore it. That's for sure, and that's what he should be doing. But after a loss, the emotions are raw, and he's also he's human, but for sure he shouldn't be clapping back. There's nothing good that can come of it, and yeah, I think it's stupid.
James saying this was crazy to me. This little Jed Spence skill in the game yesterday.
Yeah, that was nice.
He's so good at stuff like that, Spence.
And he uses his body so well, and he's so physical. It's great.
Next up, BLTHFC. No Spurs for 18 days.
Yeah,
we can all get behind that.
Well, we need some of that Europa League action.
This is how I woke up this morning, dancing around my bedroom.
Well, getting ready to talk about Spurs loss for 3 hours,
knowing that there's no Spurs for 18 days.
What is this game? I don't understand. This isn't. I don't know what this is. Someone made an animation.
I don't know what this is.
Yeah, it's got Sonny, Richarlison, Ange. Someone actually made this. What? I thought if you could take the FIFA or do something with it, maybe. But someone actually animated this. This is crazy.
I don't know. Maybe it's some sort of AI thing. I don't know.
AI, maybe. That's crazy.
Spurs Army. This was when Matisse Tell came into the away end yesterday. A lot of people saying, he jumped in to say hi to a family member. Well, as you can see, he didn't.
Yeah, you can see on the clip here, it's very clear. He's talking to the fans. These are not family, I can tell you that. And obviously, as you can see, these young guys at the front here were very, very irate. They were shouting things, and he decided to, take a look and walk in. That video starts from just when he got into the crowd. I had a shot of him noticing it and then walking in. I don't really know what they were saying, but he was saying we need to be together. Everyone needs to calm down. He's trying to foster some sort of togetherness, but at the moment, a lot of fans aren't having it.
Yeah, and credit to him, man. Credit to him, because it's so easy for you just to walk off the pitch and just ignore the fans. It's just so easy.
But then again, if that interaction doesn't go his way, we're probably saying he's an idiot for going in the crowd. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's also true. But if the interaction doesn't go as what are you saying? If something bad happens,
I know a fan hits him or just turns physical somehow.
If that happens, then that's completely on the fan. You know what I mean?
Unless he defends himself and then all of a sudden it's a bad look. You know what I mean? But no, I agree.
You looked at Eric Dyer when he climbed up the stands to protect his brother. I mean, that could have gone horribly wrong.
Well, he got banned.
Yeah, I'm saying it could have gone horribly wrong in the stands. It could have turned nasty, is what I'm saying. But I still completely back and defend Eric Dyer for doing that, to go and try and protect his brother.
Yeah, I would like to see more of this in football in terms of the connection between the fans and players. Obviously, it's so separated. I saw someone say it's more the mentality in the continent and in Europe to be more accountable to the fans, and in England where all the players just avoid the fans and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and maybe that's kind of what he's thinking.
Brought that over from Germany.
Hopefully, and I like it. I've got no problem with it. I'm just saying, it could have got, if it went in a different way, we'll be thinking about it differently. But
he actually has previous of it, because in his last game for Bayern Munich, he did it as well to say goodbye to the fans. He actually went into the fans to say goodbye to them.
That's great. And so, look, maybe he's ingratiating himself, and I'm glad that he's trying to, I don't know about play peacekeeper, but he's trying to foster some sort of togetherness, and he's trying to tell the fans, look, I know it looks bad, but we are trying, and we have to be together. And I don't know if he really didn't believe that what he was saying. I don't know if he does that. I don't know if he's just doing it for a PR move. Maybe, I don't know, but maybe I feel like he has to really kind of believe it if he's going all that way into the fans to do it.
Maybe. Next up is a video that's been deleted, so we'll go to the next one.
That was Sonny saying goodbye to go to international duty.
Straight away. Bissouma's last 5 starts for Ange, he's been taken off at half-time 3 of those games.
And Arsenal, the other 2 was
Bournemouth
just
from Fulham.
And the other 2 was around the hour mark.
Yeah, which is mad. 3 games at half-time in the last 5.
He's been terrible. He's been rubbish, and he's been deservedly as well. He's just not been involved in the games. And as I say, Basuma before, even if he was like not having a great game on the ball and maybe was giving the ball away a bit too much, like he would still give you some like really good defensive numbers a lot of the time and get involved in a lot of duels and make tackles and stuff. But now he's not doing even that as well. He's like just so bad.
Yeah. Charlie Parrish next says, I know it's just about the Europa now, the injuries, etc., but it's just bad, isn't it? 15 defeats out of 29. Even if Spurs did somehow pull off the Europa League, I feel it might not be worth persevering with Postecoglou for a third season. It's been generally poor for ages. Do you agree?
No, I don't agree. I mean, I do agree in general that it's been very poor, yeah, and it's bad. 15 defeats to 29 is very bad. I agree with that. Do I agree that even if we win Europa League, we shouldn't persist with him? I don't agree with that. It depends. If we like just lose all our 9 games and badly, and then we win Europa League and we just fluke it, then yeah, maybe not. But I think if we show general progression, like performances are getting better, performance and results get a bit better, and we win Europa League as well, I think it would be worth persisting with him.
I don't know, man. Like right here, right now, if we were to win the Europa League, which I, can't see it, but if we were, I'd probably think a bit differently at the time. But right now, sitting here on the 17th of March, I just think like even with you winning the Europa League, it's probably the best it's ever going to get for Ange at Spurs. So I just can't see, like with this league form, with the way we've kind of handled our league campaign this year, it's just been nothing short of a disgrace, and I can't see a way that he turns it around. So I probably would just cut our losses at the end of the season.
I think if he wins Europa, I think that would be enough for me to suggest that he can do something with this team.
James Moore says Spurs have taken 44 points from the last 38 games, so not relegation form actually.
Yeah, 44 is enough to stay up, isn't it?
Oh, that's what it's come to now. Simon Yameni says the last 3 goals we conceded have come from a direct consequence of us shifting centre-back partnerships mid-game, in my opinion. It's confusing for the players involved and has led to miscommunications in and around the box. Neither RZ or Fulham looked close to scoring before we made those subs.
Yeah, I completely agree. Absolutely. But I think that's spot on, to be honest. And maybe that goes to show if we can keep Van de Ven and Romero fit for those Europa League games, then we do have a chance.
But I mean, fitness have always been their issues. That's the reality. And
well, we need to keep them fit.
Yeah, for the near future, for the Europa League run, I completely agree. But like moving forward, we can't just be on these kind of tenterhooks every week about.
Well, no, we need backup
quality. Don't we?
We need backup depth as well, and that's obviously it. Just happens to be the case when they've been fit. We've had other centre-backs go down, and when the other centre-backs have been fit, Romero and Van de Ven have gone down. Just not had them all fit at the same time.
All right, the next one is Tell again, so we'll move down to...
I think that's it.
Oh, we may as well look at this one. This Men in Blazers is a hilarious moment. The director of Parasite and Spurs fan, Bong Joon-ho, opens up on naming a character in his new film, Mickey 17... after Timo Werner?
Yes, that's what he did. Yeah, he's a big football fan. Bong Joon-ho, very good director. I've seen quite a few of his films, and he said he did a few homages to Spurs in the film there. And one of the players, there's 2 characters, one called Timo, one called Kai, and after Werner and Havertz.
Why Havertz then?
I don't know. I think he just likes Premier League football as well. So he did one after Timo, one after Kai.
Are you sure he's not like a Chelsea fan that's relishing in that Champions League?
No, he's not. I don't know if he's a Spurs fan, but
Kai
he loves Son.
Timo Werner.
He definitely loves Son. But yeah, he's under Timo Werner. That's on Dulcinea, which we obviously went on.
Oh yeah, same studio we were at.
Yeah, there we go. Hopefully we'll be back there in the summer.
Yeah, let's hope so. But that is it. That is your Twitter reacts, how the internet did react to the game. And we're going to finish off on a Tottenham update for you guys, looking at the last 24 hours of Tottenham news. And first up, we're going to talk about the manager situation, as Ben Jacobs says that there is still a desire to make it work with Ange Postecoglou, but a review will take place at the end of the season. Spurs have Andoni Iraola high up on their list in case they replace Postecoglou. Marco Silva and Thomas Frank have also been discussed. Matt Law says Andoni Iraola and Marco Silva will be among the leading candidates to succeed Postecoglou if Tottenham change manager. Pressure is once again growing on Postecoglou, with Spurs 14th in the league table with just 9 games left to play. There have been reports that Bournemouth want to extend Iraola's contract, although sources close to him and his camp have indicated that he would be interested in the prospect of taking over at Tottenham.
Well, I think it's no surprise that there's these rumours, obviously, and to be fair, it's nothing new. It's nothing that we haven't heard, that Tottenham would be interested in Silva and Iraola if Postecoglou was to be sacked. The only new bit of that is that Iraola could be interested in coming to Tottenham, which is fairly interesting. It makes sense because coming from when a club like Tottenham are available and you're a Bournemouth, who, no disrespect, are a much smaller club with smaller resources, and you've got a club like Tottenham knocking on the door, sometimes you got to say yes to that kind of opportunity. You don't know when it's going to come round again, and I'm sure Iraola would be interested. And I'm sure Tottenham, look, I'm not stupid. I'm sure Tottenham are looking at contingencies at the moment if the season keeps going in the way that it is and we don't win the Europa League and whatever. I'm sure they are looking at other potential managers and because I think you got to at this point just to kind of you can't basically have no plan going into the summer. You have to kind of think about what you're going to do.
Well, you can, because we have done many times.
Well, we've criticised them for that. So I think it's the right thing to do is if you're going to have a plan, you execute it. You don't just kind of, go into the summer, doing basically what Man United did. You make a decision. And I think we'll make that decision at the end of the season, which was also the right decision in my opinion. You wait to the end of the season, you make it. No point doing it now. But I think... obviously, Iraola would be a good candidate. Silva's a decent. I'm not completely sold on either of them, but I think Iraola is very similar to Ange. Obviously, he's done a better job with Bournemouth this season, but in terms of the way he plays, is it? I don't know if it's going to be getting us where we want to be. Maybe we'll get us basically back being competitive for top 4 again potentially, and that's not a bad thing to do right now, because right now we're in. Obviously, in the bottom half of the table, that's not where we want to be. But he's also a manager who's had lots of injuries and all these different things. And this season, and obviously we don't know if we're going to be in European football next season. Maybe if we're not, it'll be a good appointment. But is he going to do much better than Ange's 5th position without European football? That's what he did. I don't know if he's guaranteed to do better than that. And if he does have European football, it's also a bit of a risk that we don't know how he's going to manage that situation as well. So I don't know. I like him, though. I'm not going to be angry if we hire him. I'm just saying right now, I'm not convinced he's the Lord and Saviour. Marco Silva, I think he's done a great job at Fulham as well. But again, I think sometimes I find Fulham to be a bit toothless. And, they drew 0-0 at home to Hampton this season. Like, they had some of these kind of results, and he's capable of that as well. Like, I like him, but sometimes I think he's a bit of an overthinker sometimes. And there's sometimes a lack a bit of an identity as much as he likes to chop and change, which is to his benefit a lot, but it's also could be a negative thing sometimes as well.
Yeah, but also you got to look at it like most of the clubs he's managed, he's always kind of been the underdog. Where at Tottenham, he'll be the underdog in a few games a season, but nowhere near as much as like a Fulham or a Hull or these kind of teams. So it's like a step up for him. So would he still, because I think he has to tinker a lot and with his tactics when he's managing a Fulham, would he still have to do that if he's Tottenham manager?
Well, the theory is you suggest that he would have to do it at Tottenham, because you're saying we don't provide the money to not need to do that.
Yeah, I'm talking, he would probably in the big games against the top teams, but I'm talking about when you're playing the bottom, what was it, 14 teams in the league or something.
Yeah, I like Marco Silva. Again, I'm just not convinced by him. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I think they're both very good managers. I'm not sure that they come in and all of a sudden we're a really good team again.
I love both of these managers, to be honest, but the manager I love the most is the one that we saw in that interview in TalkSport last week. I mean, and Mauricio Pochettino. Did you see that interview?
I did.
Oh,
we didn't talk about it on the channel, actually, Poch.
Well, we can talk about it now because he just still speaks about Spurs in such a high regard.
He said he's felt empty since he left Tottenham.
Man, just bring him home, man. Unfinished
business. He's not leaving for the World Cup, though.
But when you're speaking like that, and the Spurs job actually coming up again, and let's say this summer the Spurs job is there, do you really think he wouldn't jump ship on the USA just because a World Cup's coming around the corner? Like, what's he realistically going to do with the USA at a World Cup?
It's a World Cup and they're hosting it. It's a massive thing. Like, I
know it's a massive thing.
That's also once in a lifetime kind of thing.
Look at the way he talks about Spurs.
Yeah, he loves Tottenham. He wants to come back, but he's made an agreement. He's managing this team into the World Cup. Like, this is a massive thing as well. Like, I don't think he's going to give that up.
I would just love to see him back. I'd love to see him as our next manager, and if I could, I'd probably replace him today.
I love him as well. I do want to see him back at some point, for sure.
But the reality is that we'll probably have to wait one more year. So Mason is interim for another year, or Postecoglou, keep Postecoglou in a job just for next season and then replace him with Poch at the end of next season.
Yeah, I think we just got to wait to the end of the season to see what where the situation lands. Right now, it's looking increasingly unlikely that we will want to keep Ange on. There's a lot of rumours flying around. You know, Tottenham will want at least European football, and if he can't provide it, then he'll be gone. And that kind of makes sense when it comes to Tottenham's model. You know, they need that cash flowing and all that kind of stuff. So
bring Poch home.
It's not going to be Poch.
Oh, I'd love it to be Poch.
It's just not going to be him, I don't think.
Biggest mistake that Daniel Levy ever made was sacking Pochettino.
But also, I don't think he's the only manager, you know, like it could be. Just because it's the only one that's worked.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like, just hearing him speak about Spurs, he just loves the club so much. Mm-hmm. He really does. And obviously, the job that he did at this football club, it felt like he just got it. He just got what it meant to be Spurs manager, and he's a manager that we all hold so close to our hearts. And to see him come back would just be something else. I think he's the one manager that you bring back, and straight away the good feeling is automatically there.
For sure. I think it'll be a very good feeling if he comes back. It'll be a very popular appointment, that's for sure.
Yeah. Next up, we're going to talk about Bryan Hill, as Spurs loanee has suffered a serious knee injury and is awaiting a decision on whether to undergo surgery. Unless they're a surprise, he's expected to miss the rest of the season. Let's hope that doesn't put any move in jeopardy.
Probably would, potentially. Or I guess maybe they'll want some money off, knowing them. And does Daniel Levy like giving discounts? Not usually. So, look, we know Bryan Hill doesn't have a future here. Whether it's in Girona or somewhere else, I'm sure he'll get a move. But unfortunately, that's bad news for him, because he was having a fairly decent season. But obviously, I think he started off a lot better than he's been over the last however long, few weeks. But unfortunately, it's bad news for him.
Yeah. Bleacher Report reporting that Tottenham are one of the several Premier League clubs tracking the progress of Inter Miami's Benjamin Cremaschi. I have actually seen him play a couple of times. Scored a few goals actually when I saw him play alongside Lionel Messi, because last season I was actually following Messi quite closely in Inter Miami. It's just a joy to watch Messi any time he steps foot on the pitch. I don't know if you saw him over the weekend.
Yeah, brilliant.
What a goal he scored. But Cremaschi actually, you know, he's done all right for Inter Miami. I haven't seen him too much, so let us know in the comment section below, any of you following the MLS and Inter Miami, and if you've seen him consistently. But yeah, have you ever heard of him? You ever seen him play?
I don't really watch much Inter Miami, MLS. I can't really comment.
And last but not least, the Footy Insider saying that Spurs are willing to listen to offers for Yves Bissouma this summer, as the midfielder has fallen down the pecking order under Ange Postecoglou, which is no surprise to us.
Yeah, a year left on his deal. I think makes sense to sell, you know, on his way. I wonder how much he'll go for. But, you know, maybe a similar price to what we sold Højbjerg for. Like, that was, 15 million, something like that?
Yeah, I think so. Between 15 and 20 million.
Yeah, something like that. Look, I do think there's a good player in there. I even like what he's shown at Tottenham. Like, I do think, even from based on, maybe not in the last few weeks, but based on what he's seen overall, like, I do think a lot of clubs will be interested, but it won't be any of the top clubs. But I do think he's still a good Premier League player, and I think people want him. But
I don't know if he stays in the Premier League if we sell him. I'm not sure. Maybe, but I feel like he could go to, like,
you know, he's perfect. Yeah, Marseille. Marseille. It has Marseille written all over him.
Or him and Højbjerg back in the midfield
for
together.
sure. Zerbi, they just love that kind of player.
Zerbi didn't manage him at Brighton, did he?
No. Potter, West Ham.
Yeah. Could he go to West Ham?
I mean, I think we would sell him there. Why not?
I wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
And last but not least, let's go and look at...
By the way, just quickly, Bissouma's going to go to next come and be amazing. It's so obvious.
Yeah, we say that about everyone.
It's so obvious, because it's all true.
Maybe. And if he does, good luck to him. But I think his time here is done. Let's look at the international Spurs. Who's been called up?
Yeah, so Spurs just announced just now who 12 players have been called up for international duty. I'm just looking at it now. There's you got Son for Korea, Bissouma for Mali, Bergvall for Sweden. So obviously Kulusevski definitely out of the international break, we know that. Romero for Argentina, Solanke for England, Porro for Spain. You got Brennan Johnson and Ben Davis for Wales, Bentancur for Uruguay, Sarr for Senegal, and Vicario and Udogi both been called up for Italy. So 12 of our squad have been called up for international duty over this break.
I got to say, that Tuchel squad for England is nothing short of a disgrace.
Yeah.
Like, what is that all about? I know he actually called up Gibbs White yesterday, which is, a step in the right direction, but we're in bloody 2025 and Jordan Henderson is getting called up. Like, what the hell is going on? Like, Kyle Walker, I can understand to a certain extent because he's actually starting week in, week out for a club like AC Milan. But Jordan Henderson can't even get in the Ajax team.
Yeah, and Reece James has been injured the whole season. I just don't understand it. And although I've just seen they've added Morgan Gibbs-White into the squad.
That's what I just said,
yeah. But I don't understand it. Why didn't they announce him initially?
I don't know.
And you can just add players? You don't have to replace?
Yeah, I mean, I don't see a reason why not.
I thought is there not a certain number?
You can have a certain number in the matchday squad, but I think you can call up
however you want.
Yeah.
So you just added him. What? They forget him off the list? They just had him. They seem to have had him for no reason.
He saw him on the weekend and he was like, "Oh, I think I missed out this guy."
He's like, "Oh shit." Yeah, but yeah, fair play.
All
yeah,
right.
no, it's a terrible squad. I don't understand it.
Yeah. And everyone was so excited to get Tuchel in, get Southgate gone. Now everyone's saying, "Get Southgate back, Tuchel out."
Even Southgate had given up on Henderson.
I know. But yeah, that is it from us today. That is your Tottenham update. Well, thank you all for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.